All right, so today we're going to look at equations of a line in multiple formats. We are primarily going to focus on point slope. That is the one that's going to be most useful, I think, as you go on. It's the most basic, but you should be able to convert between any form, and you should be able to understand the different forms. So very first up here we have ax plus b. That's called standard form, equation of a line. Don't see that as often, but it will show up, especially in multiple choice options later on in tests. You might see that. Slope-intercept is probably the one people are most familiar with, where m is your slope. Actually, I'm going to write that down here, because your m is your slope here, your m is also your slope up here, and then your b in y equals mx plus b is your y-intercept. In the point slope form down below, we have our slope of m, and then our point comes from here and here. Our point is going to be x1, y1. And sometimes this will show up as y equals y1 plus m x minus x1. But this equation comes from your slope formula, which is that m is y minus y1 over x minus x1. You just multiply up this bottom right here, and you get your m x minus x1 is y minus y1. So if you forget the point slope form, but you remember your slope formula, you should be able to recreate it. All right, now let's look at some problems and write some equations of lines. First off, we're going to find the point slope form of the equation of the line through 2, -3, slope, -4/5. So super easy. We use our formula, y minus y1. y1 is -3, so minus -3 becomes +3, is your slope, -4/5, x minus x1. There's my 2 right there. So again, my slope right here, and my point right here. This is my y1, this is my x1. Again, you may find this later, and when we're trying to turn it into another form, right, we can do something like y equals, we would subtract that 3 over, y equals -3 minus 4/5 x minus 2. And if I want slope-intercept form, I'm going to try and simplify this. So I'm going to distribute my -4/5 to the x, and I'm going to distribute my -4/5. And again, when you multiply 4/5 by 2, and they're both negative, that's going to give me the positive, and you just multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. My last step now is combine my like terms, and to do that I need common denominators. And remember, -3 over 1. If I want a denominator of 5, I can always put it in the 1 costume of 5 over 5, and that little piece would give me -15/5. So I'm going to combine that with my 8/5, and I get -4/5 x, and then I would have -15 plus 8 plus, oops, try that again, minus 7/5. All right, so there's my slope and my y-intercept. And now if I want standard form, generally, I mean, I could just add this over, and I would get this part right here, and I would get 4/5 x plus y equals -7/5. But a lot of times we don't have fractions in our standard form. If I multiplied everything by 5, I would get 4x plus 5y equals -7. And that is another form of the equation of the same line. All right, let's try another one. So now instead of a point and a slope, they give us 2 points. And so your job is to find the slope first, because then we can use point slope form. To find the slope, you take y minus y1, or your 2 y's, and subtract them, and then in the same order, 2 minus -1, and we get -9 over 3, or -3. So for my point slope form, I could use either point. Doesn't really matter. But let's do y minus -3 is my slope, -3 x minus x1, which is 2. So that's my point slope form. Again, it may show up as y equals -3 minus 3 x minus 2. That's another version of that, and that's one step on the way to putting it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to distribute -3x. I have a plus 6, and overall I will come up with a positive 3, so 3 minus 3x. Slope is -3, y-intercept is positive 3. And now if I want my standard form, I would add 3x to both sides and get 3x plus y equals 3. There's my standard form. All equivalent, all have the same slope, the same y-intercept. You may get a different sort of equation. So parallel to means the same slope. So again, I need to find the slope for this line. And to do that, the easiest way to do it is to rewrite it in slope-intercept form. So I will subtract my 3x from both sides. And then to get my slope-intercept form, I would divide both sides by 4. -3/4 x minus 5/4. So the piece I want from this, I want to be parallel to this line. So I need to have the same slope as this line. And when I come up here, I can use my point, y minus y1, which is y plus 3, is my slope, -3/4 x minus 2. There's my point slope form. Again, put it in slope-intercept form, standard form. So y is -3 minus 3/4 x, and then it's going to be plus 6/4. And I can combine my like terms right here. I'll still have a -3/4 x, -3, and I want it in terms of fourths, so that's -12/4 plus 6/4 is going to be minus 6/4. And if you can't, leave it unsimplified, -3/4 x minus 3/2. So again, slope of -3/4, same slope as the other line, but now my y-intercept is -3/2. And again, for standard form, I'm going to add this over, or you could multiply by 4 first. If I think about this equation and multiply everything by 4, 4y is -3x minus 6, and 3x plus 4y is -6. When I add the opposite, when I try and undo having a -3x on the right side. So here we go, point slope form of the equation of the line through -1, 5, but this time we want to be perpendicular. So remember, perpendicular slopes are negative reciprocal slopes. So again, my first step is to find the slope for this line right here. I'm going to add my 2x to both sides. And I'm going to divide my 8. So 2/8 is the same as 1/4. And 10/8, if I divide them both by 2, is 5/4, because that's 10/8. So again, this is the slope of the line. The perpendicular will have slope negative reciprocal, so -4/1 or -4. So now when I want to write the equation in point slope form, I'm going to use my point. So y minus 5 is my slope, -4x minus y1, or x1, which is -1. So that becomes +1. Slope-intercept form, -4x minus 4 plus 5, or -4x plus 1. And again, if I want to put it in standard form, I want my x and y on the same side, so I would add my 4x over and get 4x plus y equals 1. And that will be, again, perpendicular to my original line. All right. So now I want perpendicular to line L, but has a y-intercept that is 2 higher. So again, I'm looking for the negative reciprocal slope. So in this case, I'm going to add my 3y to both sides because I always like to go positive if I can. And I get 2x plus 1 equals 3y. And now to solve for y, I'm going to divide everything by 3, 2/3 x plus 1/3. So here's my slope. I want to be perpendicular to this line. So the perpendicular will have slope of -3/2. And I need to have a y-intercept that is 2 higher than the original y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 1/3. I need to add 2 to that, which is the same as adding 6/3, because 6/3 is 2. And I will get 7/3. Now in this case, point slope is not going to be my best choice. My best choice is going to be slope-intercept. So because I now have those two things. So my perpendicular line will have slope of -3/2, and with the y-intercept 2 higher, and there I have it. I don't think it said point slope form. Nope, just said write the equation of the line. Okay, one last little word problem kind of deal. Actually, so I think we're going to do that in a different video. So hopefully now you can get started on your mastery.